Welcome back to Faith, Facts and Fire. My name is Great and I'm here with
TY.
And today we're going to speak about, is slavery condoned in the Bible? It's going to be a mad one. It's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, we're talking to you slave manners. We're talking to you, but it's going to be a good one still.
I personally think this one's light work still, but obviously, Great thinks he's got some serious points. I don't know how. I don't know where.
We'll
find out, innit? We'll find out still.
And again, we'll use you, the people watching, to comment below, see who had more points, who has got their facts right. This one is going to be a downright obliteration. There has to be one winner. There's no in between. Still, there has to be. You can't. There's no middle. But we'll see.
No more.
Oh yeah. You go. Where you start from?
You want me to start? Yeah.
Start it. The floor is your own.
Alright.
Because I'm not a slave master. No, my Bible told me so.
So, does the Bible condone slavery? I think it 125% does. So
sorry. Just to interrupt you. When you say condone, let's define condone.
Okay, and that's where I was going.
Yeah, wonderful.
A couple of words we need to define.
Cool. Exactly. You get me. Let's go.
So officially, I'm gonna get the official definition, but my idea of condone is allow, promote, or sanction, meaning that you give permission to, essentially. So you give permission of something.
Okay, so you say allow, promote, or sanction, yeah?
That's my personal meaning, but if I look at the Oxford Dictionary says accept, approve or sanction, right? So approve or sanction, right? You allow it, you let it go on, right? So if my kids want pet fish, and I say you can have pet fish, I've condoned them having fish. I've accepted it, I've approved it, I've stamped it of approval, right? So that's condone.
So basically allowing something to happen.
Yeah,
accept behaviour that is considered morally wrong or offensive.
Accept, approve, or sanction.
Okay, cool. So
Would you agree with that, or have you got a different idea?
What, for what condoning is?
Condone, yeah.
It's for you to accept behaviour. Sanction. I swear sanctions like if you're doing something. What's sanction meaning again?
Sanction means like you approve it, like you. If you sanction something, you stamp it approval, like you sanction.
For some reason I was thinking of sanction as in the sense of.
There's two definitions. Yeah, there's also sanction like a punishment.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Punishment,
but it's not using that, not in that context.
Okay, cool, sweet. Alright, cool. Sanction.
But how did you originally imagine condone when we was preparing for the debate?
Okay, from what I thought of condone was in the sense of like, does God like, is this something that's promoted? Is this something that's kind of like, it's A-okay, kids, like, thumbs up, basically?
Yeah, that's approving it. Yeah. It's like approving it, accepting it.
Okay, fair enough, yeah, so that condone, that's why I'm against it. Yeah,
okay,
cool,
alright. So your stance is that it doesn't approve or accept of slavery?
Yeah.
Or the Bible doesn't approve or accept of slavery?
It doesn't, not in the way, I believe that the Bible sets up a framework, for something that is already existing.
A framework for something in regards to
existing slavery.
Okay, so do you say that it condones it or not? I don't understand.
No, I don't condone slavery.
It doesn't condone slavery, no. But you think it sets out a framework for what?
Yeah, for something that already exists.
All right. What exactly do you mean by that?
Okay, so for example, slavery existed before the Bible. Yeah, the Bible, like, it's clear that because even if you talk about,
but you say the Bible was in the beginning.
Yeah, of course, but I mean in the sense of, the Bible, the Bible is the book in the beginning in the sense of, okay, cool, God was from the beginning, but it's not like on the very, very first day you had Genesis.
So that's a good point then. So when do you consider the Bible came into actually to play then in the story? I've actually never asked you that.
I feel like once things were gonna be able to start being written down, because I even read, because I'm thinking, right, who wrote Genesis? Because there's people sometimes attribute some parts to Genesis, the first couple of days to Genesis, and maybe his sons and
to Genesis. Moses.
Adam. Sorry.
I've never seen that before. Yeah, that people attributed to Adam.
Yeah, the first couple.
Beginning of Genesis.
Yeah, because
I've never heard that before. Still.
That's how else would they know what X, Y, Z, da da da. So it's like I believe the Bible ended up coming about when there was things to be written down. For example, like the Ten Commandments, yeah? I believe we had the Ten Commandments before they were written down. But then the Israelites were in the desert for how long? 40 days, 40 nights. This is ample time.
40 years.
40 years, sorry. Apologies. Yeah, so this is ample time to write down a lot of the things that is going on. So I feel like it was like an ongoing, continuous record. Once Moses died, he passed it on, X, Y, Z, and blah, blah, blah. And
so you think they officially started writing the first stories of the Bible around the Commandments time?
Basically? This is just my guess.
Yeah.
Only because that's the first time that we've actually got something that
to write
was
down,
handwritten by God as well. So start to be documented.
Cool. So you're saying there was slavery before the time that Moses got the commandments then?
Yeah, because Exodus, isn't it? That's how, you get what I mean? Moses freed the slaves.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
So slavery had already, I feel slavery had been there. And I, when the Bible refers to slavery, I believe that the Bible's talking about economic servitude. And that's another thing that I wanted to find as well. Like the
definition of slavery. Yeah. Alright. So because to me, a slave is just, there's no like separate definitions. Mm-hmm. A slave is a slave. A slave means you're doing something against your will, you're bound to someone, somebody owns you. Like, to me, that's a slave. Mm. Official definitions I can see on Google is the state of being a slave, the practice of or system of owning slaves, or a condition of having to work very hard without proper remuneration or appreciation. So how do you then define slavery?
Okay, well, I believe that the term slavery has changed, and it might not have changed in terms of what the word means, but in terms of how we view it has changed. And the reason why I say that is because when you sit up to when you think about slavery, a lot of people, when they think about slavery, they don't even think about the slaves, the Muslim, Arabic slave, what's Arab slave trade?
Yeah, the Arab slave trade, yeah.
They don't believe to talk about Arab slave trade. They don't talk about Exodus. They don't even speak about Christians enslaving people. They literally think about the modern day slave era, race-based slavery. That's generally what I believe people think when they talk about slavery, and that is a lot of the misconception. I feel like the Bible gets a lot of stick for it because that's what people think: race-based slavery. They were not paid. All of this, all of that, blah blah blah. And because the Bible has the term slave in it, they attribute that together.
So is this not you painting your own narrative, tint glasses over the word of slavery? Because you've added a lot to just what is a simple word, which is slavery.
No, but
you've added race to it. You've added a lot to just a simple concept.
Of course, and that's why I'm saying there's a differentiation in terms of what slavery meant back then is not what slavery means back now.
So when you say
like people used to sell themselves as slaves for money, would that fit in the same bracket that the term slavery does?
Yeah. Because what's not important in that sentence is selling themselves. What's important in that sentence is the concept of slavery.
No, but they expected to be paid.
But then you're not selling yourself. That's a job. If you're
for example, back in the day, if I owed you a debt and I wasn't able to pay, yeah, I would sell myself to you for the time of my debt. That it was a normal thing. That's why I'm saying it was more economic servitude. That's what the Bible sees it as. Whereas the word slavery is seen as something which is like horrific treatment and this and that. Like the Romans was built on slavery.
The world is built on slavery.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Literally, the world is built on slavery. I agree with that.
But okay, so alright, so there's a lot of things to unpack there. So the first thing is, you're saying that slavery is only slavery when certain conditions exist. For example, if it's like bad treatment and that.
Yeah, because otherwise, what's the difference? Because technically, what would be the difference between you being a hired worker? If you're treated really nicely, you're paid, you got holidays and all of this and all of that, blah, blah, blah. What is the difference between that and slavery that is in the Bible, in my opinion?
What the reason that I'm saying, I think slavery in the Bible and slavery, not even today, because the slave trade, that's like nearly 400 years ago. But the most recent and the transatlantic slave trade, I think it's the same type of slavery. The reason why I say that primarily is because the slaves were owned. they were owned back then, and they were owned and bought and traded in the transatlantic slave trade. So to me, it's the same. It's the exact same.
I do see why you say that, definitely. And the only difference that I have in terms of that is the fact, like I said, in terms of back in the day, things were different. What was owned back to that, the world was built on slavery, and so God could never have just been like, no, don't have slaves, because he would be putting his people at a disadvantage, because like you said, that's how the world was built on slavery. So hence the reason why I said that God came, the world is a broken world, and God came and gave framework for something that is already existing, that is already an issue. So so how you treat them and all of these things. So he's trying to make something that's so wrong livable, workable. Basically.
So to you, does that not then be the Bible approving or sanctioning the act of slavery? Because at no point does he say this must stop. At no point does he intervene.
Definitely, especially within the New Testament. Even in the Old Testament, he sets out very clear. Like one of the verses that I want to bring up, and I feel like this shuts down everything from the beginning. Yeah, is because when you think about slavery, generally, forget about the Atlantic or this or that or whatever. You think about somebody who's been kidnapped. Somebody, they might not necessarily be kidnapped, but somebody who's there against their own will, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say that, but let's not say kidnapped. Somebody who's there against their own will, somebody who doesn't want to be there, somebody who's treated in harsh conditions, all of these things. Everything that I've listed, the Bible explicitly goes against in terms of slavery. Exodus 21:6, yeah? Anyone who kidnaps another person is to be put to death, whether that is sold as a possession or not. This alone eradicates the whole Atlantic slave trade, because you're saying, does the Bible condone something? There's a verse here saying anything that is meant to be kidnapped, anyone who's kidnapped in terms of for sale, I'm against it. So that will then go against every form of modern day slavery, even slavery back in that day. See what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but the problem with what you're saying is that you're switching what the punishment is for. So the punishment and what's frowned upon isn't slavery, it's the fact that you're actually stealing property. So the same way in Leviticus, there's all of these rules about what's going to happen if you steal someone's cattle, or if you, like there's rules against doing all of that as well. Do you know why? Because those are things that they own, and a slave is something that somebody owns. So the punishment is because that's somebody's property that you've done something to, that you've kidnapped. It's not because it's their property.
The punishment is because you've taken somebody to sell. That's it. That's the punishment. Do you see what I'm saying?
But they're allowed to do that. You can't do that with another Israelite.
No, they're not allowed to do that, period.
So alright, so say it again.
So we can get it up, because this is, I've written down paraphrases, yeah. And one thing that I always like to do for context, I always read the verse before and I always read the verse after. Always, if I'm just reading one verse.
Okay, fair enough.
So Exodus 21:16, anyone who kidnaps another person to be put to death, whether they are in their possession or whether that's not in their possession. So whether the person who they kidnap's in their possession or not, they should be put to death as an outright rule. And that's just the very first that I'm coming.
But that's got nothing to do. Somebody that's kidnapped somebody will be put to death.
To sell them.
Sell them.
With the whole purpose of selling them, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not a fact. It's not just about kidnapping.
But that's not even discussing slavery. That's saying if you kidnap someone, you sell them, you'll be put to death.
Which is what slavery is.
That's not what slavery is.
It is.
Slavery is when you own somebody, they're yours, and they have to do work for you.
Of course, but how do you get these slaves in the first place?
But that's a whole different argument. How you get them? We're talking about what's condoned. You're just saying a specific method of somebody trying to profit isn't allowed.
Of somebody who's kidnapped.
So that's one specific method.
Okay.
But it says that you can buy and sell slaves. So therefore, the act of slavery is approved and sanctioned.
Okay, I've got a sick analogy, yeah?
Okay,
I've got a sick analogy. Yeah, let me know what you think. Drunk driving is a problem, yeah? Drunk driving. The law says you cannot have a certain amount of specimen in your breath, yeah? Is the law condoning drunk driving or not?
Say it again.
The law basically says, yeah, that you can only have a certain amount of specimen in your breath, yeah? Otherwise, you're going to get in trouble for whatever, you face punishment. Does the law condone drink driving? Or is it setting out a framework for something that they know that people are going to do?
You're not allowed to have a certain amount of alcohol in your system.
Yeah, like it's illegal for you to have a certain specimen of breath in your system, yeah? That's not saying that you can't have zero alcohol in your breath. It's saying you can only have a certain amount of specimen in your breath, and if you do, it's against the law. So just by that alone, does the law condone drink driving?
Yeah.
You think the law condones drink driving?
Well, I don't know what the exact law is. I'm sure the exact law says something along the lines of you can't have a certain amount of...
The breath, yeah. So you can't.
But
so
by definition, if you are allowed to have a certain amount of alcohol in your system, then the law does allow drink driving.
No, but does it condone it? Because it punishes it though.
So, it condones it because it accepts it. But what it doesn't accept is the amount. What's on trial is the amount.
Exactly. Same with trade slavery.
No. How does that relate? How does that relate?
Let me land.
Go.
You're basically, so with the drink driving thing, you're basically saying that you are not allowed to do this, if you have this certain amount. Okay, cool. The law sees that it recognizes it, and you will not be penalized for it. However, the whole thing itself is blanket no, because if you go, because it's a very low threshold, right? It's not like, you can be tipsy, you can be this. And hence, with the whole same thing in slavery, in the sense of God is basically giving it's basically giving a framework for a system that's already broken, something that people know that they're going to do already. Do you see what I'm saying to you? It's the same, I feel like it's the same thing.
Goalposts.
No, where's the goalpost?
Moving goalposts.
Okay, let's break it down then. You're not allowed. You said you're not allowed to. The law says you can't only have a certain specimen in your breath. Yeah.
No, but remember, how are you comparing this to the slavery thing? How does it compare over? Because there's no amountage with the slavery.
There is, because
it's binary.
You're setting limitations.
But what limitations are set in
the limitations to it in the sense of, okay, for example, there's loads of limitations in the sense of how you should treat your slaves.
There's even rules for the slaves
because they knew it was going to happen. That it was always like God. He didn't come to eradicate it. He come to put a system in place where he knows there are going to be issues. Because think about it. Back in the day, you'd go to war, and you would, as a general rule, anyway, if I go to war, take prisoners. Your prisoners are now my slaves.
Facts.
So, and that was mandatory. That was not mandatory, but that was normal for anyone, whatever religion you are. That was normal. Like spoils of your war, they call it. So, in the case of that, he knows that this is going to happen. There's even times where God has said, "Wow, go and destroy all these people," and there's times that He said, "Bro, don't even take no slaves. Kill everybody, kill them all." Do you get what I'm trying to say? So it's like, if you're setting down a framework for something that already exists, which is the same as drink driving, the government know people are going to drink, 100%. They know that they are. If they were so against it, if they're so against it, they would be like, zero specimen of breath. But because they know that this is going to happen, whether it's, and you might have a little bit of a drink, couple hours later, or whatever it is called, they know this is going to happen. So because they know this is going to happen, they set out legal framework so it could be dealt with in a better way, which is the same thing that God did. Do you know what I mean? That does not mean that the law is saying, because if you go to court and be like, but the law said I can have a couple pints or a couple, the judge will laugh at you, bro. You're getting fucking, you're gonna take your sentence.
But not if you're under the limit.
Exactly, because you're within the framework that the law has set out.
Yeah, what the law condones.
And that's not what the law condones, in terms of what
the law condones you to have a certain amount of alcohol.
It doesn't.
Of course it does.
It allows you to.
Which is the same.
No, but
remember, condone means approve, accept, allow, sanction. It's all the same synonym for the same thing. So the law condones you to have a certain amount of alcohol in your system. And the Bible condones you to buy and own slaves permanently as long as they're not Israelites.
Bro,
it's done. He knows it's done.
Do you know why? Do you know why it's not done? And you contradict yourself, though.
Tell me how.
Because if you say the law condones something, it means that it is right. It believes that it's right. It's accepting this thing or . How can you?
Not that it believes it's right, but it approves it.
Go back to what you said in terms of condone, because you said condone in terms of accept. You've approved it.
Yeah, approved. I literally just said the same thing.
But you're not approving it though.
You are, because you're approved. You're allowed to have a certain amount of alcohol in your system. Therefore, the law is allowing you to do that. We approve you, Tyrone, to have half of a litre of alcohol in your system at any given time on the road. We believe that's a safe amount of alcohol to have in your system.
So approve means to officially agree or to accept as satisfactory.
Synonyms. This is fine. It is fine for you to have this amount of alcohol in your system while driving.
Okay, so let me rephrase it then, yeah? So because what I do hear what you're saying. No, because you know what it is? I realised what I said and what the difference, because what you basically said is the law condones for you to have a certain amount of specimen of breath.
Yeah.
Same way I believe that the law condones for you to own slaves. Yeah,
so it's done.
But in the sense of, but the same way when it comes to the law, if you were to, it allows you to have a certain specimen in your breath, but it doesn't allow you to be over the limit or whatnot. Yeah. So therefore, you can say that cool. It sets up framework for things that it believes is okay, but it is the fact that you are punished by
if
that.
you pass the framework.
Of course, yeah, exactly.
So the thing that is okay, it's not. So you got to separate what's okay from what's not.
Okay.
Drink driving itself isn't what's not okay. Having too much is what's not okay. And equally in the Bible, having slaves is not what's not okay. What's not okay is the treatment of the slaves. But what is okay is having slaves, and what is okay is having drink while you're driving. But just not too much and not too harshly for the slaves.
Okay, yeah, of course. But
so therefore it's accepted and approved.
No,
therefore the Bible condones slavery.
But if you're it condones. No, but again, I hear what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you. But then again, you got to look at it in the sense of the actual meaning, the term, the word, what slavery is, and da 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 da. Like you can't say like it's like, for example, like if you look at the same example, the police will sit outside pubs and they will try to breathalyze you, do this and they'll do whatever to get you, because they it's something that's hot. They don't like it. It's not right.
They don't like it when it's too much, and they know a lot of people abuse the framework. That's why there's an issue. The same way that if there was like Israelite guards that monitored people and how they treated their slaves, that would be a good thing, because if they think a lot of people actually treat their slaves badly, then there should be a law in place to punish the owner.
Of course. But what I'm trying to basically say is that the law has set a framework for something that it does not like.
How do you know it doesn't like it?
Because you'll get punished for it.
You don't get punished for you get punished if you exceed something.
Well, which is the threshold of what it is very small. Which is, I guess you can argue, saying it's not relevant, but the fact that it is so small shows the fact that it's like basically the Bible basically saying, it's like if the Bible said you can't own any slaves, yeah, it would be put in. It's like the UK government is okay. It's like if the UK government said, you can't have a specimen of breath in your system at all. See why that is an error? Because what if you've been drunk and you're not actually drunk, or you're not over the limit in the sense of it isn't okay. Perfect. The reason why they want you to have the certain specimen of breath is because they don't want you to be intoxicated and driving. So they believe that specimen of breath is low enough for you not to be doing any harm, basically.
Yeah, for you to not be dangerous to other people.
Same way, when it comes to slavery, it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to limit this framework so that it's not. People are going to do this anyway. People are going to have slaves all over the world. I can't stop people. I'm just trying to say.
But of course, they can stop people.
No, you can't.
They stop. Look.
Because if he said,
weed dank is illegal.
Yeah.
There is no limit, right? If you have any that you can,
there's
that you can have.
As well. Yeah, same thing with weed. I promise you.
There's a certain amount of highness.
Yeah.
Are you sure about that, bro? Don't let me.
I put money on it, bro. I promise you, like live, I've been there. Like it's very low as well, but it's the same thing, bro.
You could be. Do you know what? If you're right, I'll take my hat off to you still. But
I swear to you.
How can a?
It's mad, bro.
Wait.
I promise you, it's actually mad, bro.
How can a substance be illegal and class whatever, but you're allowed to have a certain?
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
That doesn't make sense.
We live in a mad world. I promise you. And the reason why this is the case, and some of the studied law as well. The reason why this case, the government know what's going to happen anyway. So by you putting a blanket rule on slavery and punishing everybody who has slaves, in my opinion, that's not going to do anything for slavery. Instead, you set out a framework for a system that's already broken, where you limit it. Do you know what I mean? That's generally what I...
No, but if the government wanted to say zero
Zero
they
tolerance.
could, and it would be done.
Of course
there
they
are
could.
drugs that are zero tolerance, and there was a time when alcohol you couldn't have any, you couldn't buy it.
I promise you, I don't know about that. To be fair, you might be right on that, but I promise you, most of the drugs and whatever it is and they have and we could do it with other laws as well. To be honest with you, but they have like but the reason I'm using this is because it's like they've set the limit so low, but it is completely frowned upon. Like, there's nobody that's in the history of ever been caught being like, oh, well, I don't think anyway, but they said that I could have this amount of specimen. No, you knew what you were doing was wrong. The reason why we have that law in place anyway is because we know people are going to do it. So we set such a small threshold for it so that we could actually make this workable. Because if it was a situation where every zero tolerance at all, bro, you could have drank like 2 hours ago, you might not be intoxicated at all. It might, do you know what I'm trying to say? Just because you got some, and that's why when you go to the police station, what are you gonna have? You're gonna go to, you give a specimen of breath. If you blow over, or whatnot, more time they'll even give you a blood test. Do you know what I mean? Just things that just to actually see because they want to know the actual amount that you had within your system. And that's another reason why sometimes people can get nicked for drink driving. By the time they go to the station, it's reached below that threshold. The fact that they've arrested you in the first place shows that they're not happy with this. Same way, bringing it back to the whole God and slavery thing. It's like, and that's why God sets out, there's loads of framework for it in the sense of like, the slavery in the Bible, it was for economic debt, it was time limited, protected by law, it was not race based, and there was no lifelong ownership in terms of what I know there's a verse that you could probably bring up in terms of the only verse that I've seen in the Bible, Leviticus. I think it was Leviticus 25:44.
That's exactly what I'm staring at right here.
But then, have you read? And you know what? I think because that is the basis, to be honest, of pretty much the only verse you have, right?
That's all the only verse that I need.
Have you read the whole thing in context? Because if you read the whole thing in context, it's completely different.
But all right. So just tell me how you combat this, for the watchers and that. I'm gonna propose this to him and then ask him how he combats this.
Okay.
Yeah. So Leviticus 25:44 and 46 essentially says that Israelites were allowed to buy slaves from surrounding nations, and these individuals could be held as permanent slaves. Now, my first question to you is, how is that different from an American taking a boat to Africa and buying African slaves and then keeping them in America forever? And how to you is that different from slavery, just full stop?
Okay, and the reason, first of all, to answer that question, I think it's important to look back at, is this the previous verse? Okay, so verse 6 of that, Leviticus 25 verse 6, this is talking about the year of Jubilee. And the year of Jubilee was basically like whether you had slaves, or this basically owned any debts, the 7th year, everything goes free, basically, no matter what, everything goes free. So it speaks about, so verse 6, it says, the land shall provide food for you yourself, male and female slaves. So this is talking about verse 6 before. So basically talking about how when you shouldn't, if there's any grain and things left on the floor, you shouldn't basically take all the food, because your female slaves or your male slaves should be able to eat from this. Do you get what I mean? So it's showing that you're gonna give them food or whatever. 35, same Leviticus 25:35 says, if a brother becomes poor, support him as if he was a stranger or a sojourner, he shall live with you. So this is basically saying that if somebody becomes poor, whether they're a slave, whether they're from inside or outside your country, that person should live with you. And lastly as well, 39, if your brother becomes poor, you shall not make him serve as a slave, but he should be a hired worker, and he should go on the year of Jubilee. This is verse 39. This was before 44. So what I'm basically trying to say here is in the sense of the reason why it said that, because God said his people, which is, again, the people that worship him, the people that he took out of Egypt, because he took them out of Egypt, he has made like a promise that he's not going to make them slaves again. That doesn't mean that they can't be hired workers or this or that, but he's taken them out of bondage. And again, because we know that if you go to war and all of these things like that, hence the reason why it says that you could use it's like an outsider thing, because we know the only people you could have slaves, because he doesn't want his own people to be in bondage, the only people you could have slaves is the only people that you could, which were people from other foreign lands, which worship other foreign gods.
Like black people, if you're white European.
What do you mean if you're white European?
So deep what you've just said, yeah? The only people they can take as slaves is not themselves, is foreign nations.
Because
so if you're white Europeans at the time,
no, but
there's no problem with you going to Africa and taking these people as slaves.
Of course there is, because it's literally said.
But it's literally said you can go to foreign nations.
The very first, but that was from the people around you, and the reason why it said that is because, again, like I said, the Bible knows that there's going to be slavery. He doesn't want because he took his people out of slavery in Exodus. That's the whole reason. Like, anyone who says that the Bible supports slavery, why would God use Moses to take so many people out of slavery?
Because it's his people.
No, but at this
That's
time,
got nothing to do with
this time they didn't even worship God though.
But they're his people. It doesn't matter if they worship him or not.
It does. 100% it does, because that's why you want to see why God.
And what makes you think they didn't worship him at the time when they were living in Egypt?
God did not reveal himself to them. God didn't even reveal himself to Moses until later. He did not know. They did not know about him.
They didn't know about God. Of course they did.
Apologies. That was Abraham. So God didn't show himself about Abraham, but
you got to remember how they got to Egypt in the first place, yeah?
Yeah.
So you've got Jacob. Jacob has 12 sons. One of them is Joseph. Yeah. He's the favoured one.
No, of course, yeah.
He runs away to Egypt.
Yeah.
Right?
But what
gets favour with Pharaoh imports his family over.
Yeah, I know the story, but what I mean in the sense of, like, they didn't know, like, we call it progressive revelation in the sense of God continued to reveal himself to him. And don't you realise that every prophet that got there, Moses was the first person to actually see God face to face, to talk to God and da. Like, God even came down as a man in human form multiple times in the Exodus story to talk to Moses. One time was the time of Sodom and Gomorrah was getting destroyed. He came down as a man, and there was 2 angels with him. Another time, he, I think it was, where was it? He came to speak to, he said that he ate with Moses. He actually ate with Moses, even the angels. But what I'm basically trying to say, my whole point is I'm trying to say in the sense of, like, at that time, everything that was going on, is not the same as what was going on today in terms of, for example, if you had slavery back then, it wasn't, and that's why I said it's important to define what slavery meant and how the Bible views slavery. Because how the Bible views slavery is not the same slavery as we have today, and meanings of words change.
Bro, you have to have a more cohesive argument here.
How?
Because you're jumping from point to point to point.
Okay,
first you were saying that the people weren't revealed to God, and that's why there wasn't incentive for him to save them. And then you're saying slavery is different. Okay, so what I'm asking you is, what's your primary point primary proof as to how they didn't condone slaves?
Okay, cool. If it's primary proof in terms of how they didn't condone slaves, there was no harsh treatment. Yeah. So the Bible says in terms of harsh or abusive treatment, Exodus 21:20, a slave dies as a result of his master. The master shall be put to death. Same way, if a slave knocks out his master's tooth, Exodus 21:26, or his eye and is damaged in any way, that slave should go free. Leviticus 25, that's the one we spoke about. Going back to even Leviticus 24, again, anyone who takes a life of a human to be put to death, you are to have the same law as the foreigner and the native born. I am the Lord your God. Basically saying that the laws that you have here is the same as all foreigners, whether it's Israelites or whatever it is. The law is the same for everybody. Again, Deuteronomy talking about kidnapping slaves. 23, you shall not, this is another powerful verse as well, Deuteronomy 35:15, you shall not hand over the master to his master, an escaped slave, he shall basically live in your midst in the place that you choose, and you shall not mistreat him. Yeah, so all of these rules that I'm basically trying to, and in the New Testament, which we could talk about in a second, goes away from all of this completely because it knows that the times have changed. It's close towards the Roman times. There's more of a chance of you eradicating slavery at this time. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I don't see how any of the points you just made or any of the scriptures you just gave prove that it didn't condone slavery. To me, everything that you gave proved that it did condone slavery. It just had rules around it. Like, literally. All of them had the word slave in it and said, here's what you can and can't do with your slave. To me, that's pure and simple condoning.
So basically, from what you're saying, yeah, if you set out legal framework for something, and this is why I gave the drink driving thing, yeah, you're condoning it, basically. If you don't condemn it, straight away you're condoning it.
Yeah, if you say that this can happen, then I'm condoning it.
So what about something as simple as self-defense?
Something as simple. Give me an example of what you...
So, for example, if you felt immediate threat or fear now of any immediate violence towards you, legally you have a right to protect yourself, right? That does not say you have a right to kill me. This is why people get done in the sense of, okay, yeah, it's just self-defense, and the law will look at it. No, you've gone too far to what it is. So what I'm basically saying that just because from what you're basically saying that something is condoned if it is not if there's leeway.
All right, so
do you see what I'm saying?
If something is approved or sanctioned, yeah, approved or sanctioned, which means if something is approved, somebody's reviewed it and said yes, this can happen, right? So I'm saying the Bible condones slavery because the rules in the Bible, for example, again, and to me there's no difference between this and the Atlantic slave trade, because if you look at the conditions that are in play here, right, so Leviticus again, Israelites were allowed to buy slaves. So look, allow, great word. We've just found out that's the same synonym, one of the synonyms for condone, right? Approve, allow something to happen. So Leviticus 25 and 44, Israelites were allowed to buy slaves. That means somebody has given them the permission. That means somebody has condoned that they can have slaves. So to me, it's like, what do you argue against? And then your argument is that it's different from modern day slavery because it was less harsh and all of this stuff.
No, I'm saying because let me rephrase that. It's different from modern day slavery because the terms are different. But my question to you now...
The terms are different. How are the terms different?
It wasn't the same thing. But if you even look up the slave... if you were to put into Google right now, is slavery condoned in the Bible? They'll say no. And if you were to put in, is slavery... is the slavery that we have, the Atlantic slave trade, the same slavery that they had in the Bible? You'll say no. That's why I wanted to differentiate the two.
But you're
the
saying
Bible
Google
sees it
will say
as servitude.
This. No, but it uses the word slaves.
Of course,
and it distinguishes when it says servitude.
But that's what I'm saying. So another question we need to ask is: has the meaning of the word slavery changed over time?
No, what you need to ask is: in the Bible, does it use both words, slave and servitude?
Yeah, it does.
If it does, then that means they're two separate things.
No, but
because the Bible itself has two separate words for them. Do you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but I mean in the sense of, but the definition is different than what we have.
A word is a word, bro.
Okay, and I was hoping you say that.
Definition coming
but
from?
Did you know the word awful used to be in like, oh, I'm in awe of you. That's what the definition of the word awful used to be. But then now it's like, if someone says awful, it's negative connotations. So that's just one word, and I'm saying that over time things change.
But where's your proof of slave meaning anything different from what it's always meant, though? Because you're putting across that slave used to be something different. I'm telling you, show me where you're seeing that. And again, like, just the fact that you can buy someone. So how are you going to distinguish that from modern slavery?
So my question then is, that's the case, yeah. So if something sets out legal framework for something, does that mean it's condoning it? Because the law does that for loads of laws.
Yes, because if it wasn't condoned, you won't even have to put a framework down.
Yeah, but
you literally don't need a framework if it's not condoned. It's just not condoned. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, at all.
You can't have class A. You can't have methamphetamine. You can't have any of that in your system. You can't. It's just done. You can't be caught with it in any amount. You just cannot have it. It's not condoned.
No, but exactly. To contrast that to something where they put limits on it. So, for example, like what you said now, if you were to get caught, and which is crazy, like if you were to get caught with
the
loud, yeah.
But I found out that's because people can have prescription. So that's why that limit has to be in place, because someone could have actually had prescription.
No, but it's not just about prescription. It's in general. Like forget the whole
but that's my point. So if a policeman stops you and you've got a certain limit on your breath, how can they know or not if you had a prescription for the loud? So that's why there's a certain limit. Do you see what I'm saying?
Nah, bro.
Because that makes sense. Because deeper, why would you allow a certain limit of something that's completely illegal? It's because it's not completely illegal. You can get it prescribed for medicine.
No, but it's not just medicine though.
I'm not saying it's just, but I'm saying if you stop someone in the car and they've got the allowable amount of THC on their breath, you don't know if this person had it a medicine prescription or done it illegally. So because of that, you have to allow that room for the limit.
No. But what they'll do is they'll still take you back to the what they do is for the
even if you're under the limit.
No, for the drug swipe, yeah, they'll just do your tongue. Yeah. If that comes back positive, they don't know how much you've had in your system until you've had a blood test. So they'll take you back to the station, they'll give you a blood test. And then from the blood test, then they'll be able to determine how much was in your system. If you've legally got like
a limit, then you'll be allowed to go.
Yeah, then you're calm because you're legally, you might, depending on if they think you're too intoxicated to drive or not, they might still take you back to the station to do a blood test. But legally, you are prescribed. Because you've been prescribed this, you fall under a different bracket. Do you know what I mean? It's the same with people that have, forget loud, people have other drugs now that they'll take other drugs but they can still drive. Why is this? Because they don't, because they're legally allowed it, they don't see it as something that impairs their driving ability. The whole thing is because of driving ability.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about the thing itself.
Yeah.
It's about driving ability.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's not about slavery itself. It's about other things.
It's the treatment of the slaves.
Right, but the slavery itself is fine.
No, if we're looking here, yeah, this is just what Google. So I put in, has the word slavery changed over time? Yes, the concept of practice of slavery has changed significantly over time, shifting from ancient forms of bondage like Roman chattel or don't even know what that word says, to modern neo-slavery or human trafficking, blah blah blah, whatever, the language and focus. So this is even just from the Roman chattel slavery.
But that's not what we're not talking about. No Roman. All right. So then, what I'm going to do to your point, then I'm going to put in the specific Leviticus verse and say, is this ruling the same type of slavery as the transatlantic slave trade, and see what it says.
Go on, perfect. Yeah, I think, and to be honest, if it says I can concede, I know when a nigga wrong. You know what I mean? If it generally, if it says that, I cannot argue with you. I can't argue with you. Don't leave me waiting.
Okay, so I'm gonna. All right, man, chill, bro. Chill, bro. Welcome, let's go. All right, cool. So I said, the slave and allowed in Leviticus or foreign nationals, is it the same slavery as transatlantic? It said no. The slavery allowed for foreign nationals in Leviticus is not the same as transatlantic slavery, even though it does involve real slavery.
Go on, read it.
So to me, straight away, I have to even discount this because what are you fucking talking about?
No, wait. Continue reading because I'm a bit confused. What does it mean that it's gone?
Here's a precise comparison so the differences and the overlap are clear. Levitical slavery, foreign nationals. What it was, part of the ancient Near Eastern economy, foreigners could be acquired as permanent servants, not race-based, occurred in a world without prisons, welfare systems, or modern labour markets.
Just to pause there, and this is another reason why I believe, because I've even got verses where they're speaking about like, don't treat them as a slave, treat them as a hired helper, and XYZ and blah blah blah. And this is why, like, I would, if like, just to bring it back home in terms of the point, I would fully be on your side in terms of condone slavery if there was not any protection towards slavery at all. And the fact that I know. I wish I'd said, obviously we can't watch videos on here, but there was a certain video that I watched speaking about slavery and how the word slavery has changed over time into what it is now. Even this, I said, has the word slavery changed from over time from a biblical perspective? And it says, yes, the understanding of the translation of the word slavery has changed significantly over time from a biblical perspective, primarily due to shifts in the meaning of the original Hebrew and Greek terms and influence of cultural attitudes, blah, blah, blah. So the Bible uses two primary terms when it talks about slavery. So the Hebrew word is ived. This term was a broad meaning that could be more accurately translated to a servant, worker, or bondsman. In many contexts, it wasn't an inherently negative term and could denote a position of honor or dependent relationship. And in the Greek word, doulos or dolos, the New Testament term is more significant, more specific, and generally means slave or enslaved person. However, it is also metaphorically to describe Christians as slaves of God or Christ. So funny enough, that even basically says, so the Hebrew, which is Eved, which is the Old Testament, which is where we're getting most of this from, is basically saying that the term is different. It's only the New Testament, which is the Greek word dolos, which is basically saying that is more attributed to the enslaved person or whatnot.
But here's what I'm trying to say.
Go on.
So are you saying that at that time they didn't have slavery in any form that was like bad slavery?
I'm saying no, but anything could be mistreated. That's hence the reason why you had the whole Exodus story, because the Pharaoh is deeper than Pharaoh was mistreating them. When Moses asked to let them go, he doubled the bricks they were making, all of this and X, Y, Z. He was treating them very badly. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Hence the reason Moses even ran away in the first place, because remember he killed one of the guards who was messing up with the slaves because he saw that it wasn't right. But what I'm basically trying to say is that all of this goes against slavery at its core. Moses, the Exodus story, Moses killing a slave master from the New Testament, which I'll touch on in a bit. Like all of it goes against slavery. The whole thing I'm trying to say in the sense of, because you're not ever, if there was a Bible verse that says, okay, cool, it is okay to have slaves. You can Israelites were allowed to buy slaves. No, is that not the same as it's okay to have slaves? ChatGPT or whatever you asked doesn't think so.
No, but it's not. Do you know what that was doing? Right. That was comparing the differences literally, as in, okay, one was race based, one was but slavery is still at the core of both.
No, but what I'm trying to say is, and that's why I feel like it's important to bring it back to what people actually thought in the old school, because being a slave back in the day was not seen as what it is today.
No, but that's not true, because you've just said that the Israelites in Egypt were terrible slaves.
It wasn't, but then let me finish in the sense of like, it was the treatment that you treated them. Obviously, you can have anything good and people could treat it badly. So I'm not saying slavery was good, but I mean in the sense of how slaves was back in the day. The reason why there was framework is because there was a possibility for them to get treated badly and to be exploited. Do you see what I'm saying to you? It wasn't a situation where like you had slaves back in the day and it was like there was like what Pharaoh did was wrong. Hence why God wanted to free his people. There was millions of people in the world at that time, but he said that he heard their cries. The people were crying. He actually heard them. He saw that they were oppressed. Why do you think out of all the people that was God's chosen people?
Because
they turned away from God. They didn't even follow God.
Because they're literally Israelites, bro. The whole of the Old Testament is about the Israelites.
Of course.
So why is it crazy that he would save his own people? You don't see in the Old Testament him speaking about saving any other people except for Israelites.
There is even the story that I was telling you in the last one in terms of Balaam and Balak here. That goes to show the Balaam, I believe, he was not an Israelite. He came from a foreign country, but he still had communion with God. Why? Because he worshipped God. So Israelites, was his main people, and that wasn't even. And the only reason they were main people was because of Abraham. Nothing else.
Yeah, but. Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but they're his people. They're the main point of the story. They're his people.
He made the promise with Abraham. There was even a point in time where it said that God was reminded of his promise. Not that he forgot, but because the people were not moving how they should have been moving. And Abraham was like, remember like the promise that you made and da. So it's not even to such as, they were set apart for any different. It's like when people say the Jews are the promised people today. The reason why I don't believe they are is the people that believe God is. So it's not even a thing saying, because you're Jewish, you're the chosen person. No. It's your belief in God that makes you chosen people. It's kind of similar to back in the day. It's like the Israelites say, but God chose us, we could do what we want. No. He set you apart, which is what he did. Do you know what I'm saying to you?
No, but you're saying there's no specific reason, no special reason why he would save the Israelite slaves. I'm saying
other than
I'm
Abraham.
saying, of course, yeah, but they're Abraham's descendants.
But he made the promise with Abraham because he was
to him and all
Abraham.
of his descendants.
Yeah, but
the promises for you and all of your descendants.
Yeah, but because of what Abraham did is what I'm saying.
But what's that got to do with?
It's everything to do with it.
You're saying that there's no special reason for him to save those slaves. I'm saying there's a clear reason for him to save those slaves because they're Abraham's descendants.
No, of course, definitely. But what I'm more mean so in the sense of like, for example, like that he chose them to be his people, and from what it is from the knowledge I've received anyway, in terms of like God, once the Bible fell, he set his part from the sons of God to control certain parts, right? The part that the Israelites were, this was his own place. Nobody had say. This was his people because of what Abraham did and who Abraham was. My whole thing is the fact that I'm saying that if Abraham was not the person he was meant to be, maybe like I'm basically trying to say it's all Abraham, the reason why he was a chosen people.
But I'm saying
it all came from Abraham.
I'm asking you like how that's relevant. Like how is that relevant?
It's very relevant because if it was not for Abraham, they would not have been the chosen people. If it was not the chosen people, maybe things would have been different in terms of how like. It might not even have been a thing, and he remember he took them out of slavery and did this all this stuff. He made a covenant with them. Yeah. If they never had a covenant with them, maybe things would have been different in the sense of how anyone could be a slave or this or that or blah blah blah. Obviously, that's speculation. I'm just saying, innit? But bringing it back to the whole point, just so we're clear, the reason why I wanted to define slavery as two is generally, in terms of the actual definition of slavery, is generally because I generally believe that, okay, cool, I understand what you're saying in terms of slavery being bad. The Bible never says there's anything good about slavery at all. It never once says, other than the one verse out of many condemning slavery and slave masters and this, out of that one verse, it never says there's anything good with owning slaves. At all.
It doesn't say there's anything bad with owning slaves either.
It does.
It doesn't. It gives you rules for how to treat slaves. It doesn't say it's bad to have a slave. At no point does it say it's bad to have a slave.
No, okay, fair enough. But it gives you rules in terms of how to treat your slave and how you should treat them and because they know that at that time there's going to be slavery. Hence why when it goes towards the New Testament, it moves away from that because it's a different time and it's more showing that whether slave master, they're both the same. Like, and there's even another verse, and funny enough, this is one of the verses I thought you'd bring up here.
But hold on though, just to finish on the first point that you made, because how we got here was because you said slavery today is different from slavery back then. Mm-hmm. And then I said, well,
how?
I said the Israelite slavery was just as bad as the transatlantic slavery, and then you said, well, God didn't like slavery because He saved them, and I said, well, no, but He saved them not because they were slaves. He saved them because they were Abraham's descendants. So my point being there is that the issue wasn't that they were slaves. They only saved them because they were Israelites. But that also shows that back then there was slavery, just like the transatlantic, in terms of like the roughness of it, that was existing back then as well. So that means that regardless of the wording that we're looking at in the etymology, that kind of slavery has its roots all the way back then. So therefore, if the Bible is saying that permanent slaves could be owned permanent, you can buy somebody permanently. I don't understand like what word definition we look at. To me, that is clearly slavery, and that is clearly.
Remember, you've not got. But you're looking at one. If you read the whole verse, you will not have the same.
But what's your response to just this though? Before we go anywhere else, surely you will have a response to this in itself.
And which is basically what against
that you can buy slaves, own slaves, and have them forever.
And that's what I'm saying in the sense of it's reading. Once you read the whole verse in full context, it makes it clear.
But we did that though. So you went to 6 and then you said something along the lines of...
So, do you know what? Let's
somebody has food free for the year, he has to feed their slaves.
So
I don't see how that takes away from it.
So if you're going to... So when you put this in, because I feel like... So what I've written down about this,
the Sabbath year produce of land shall be food for you, for yourself, your male and female slaves, your hired worker, and the foreign living among you. So I don't understand how does that take away from you having a slave? It says you got to feed from your land, you got to feed your slaves. Yeah, okay.
No, but in the sense of like, but the way, okay, so basically the way I'm putting it in is like this, because even the Egyptian slavery, whatnot, why I think it's so important to define slavery and what it is because if you're setting something out as bad and then given limitations, you can't beat them up if they're kidnapped.
Where do they set out as bad? Where is it set out as bad?
Say what? Sorry.
Where is it set out as bad? You said it's set out as bad.
Yeah, of course it is.
But where is it set out as bad?
It's clear because, like you said, in terms of the economic time, of what was going on, that the Egyptians. Obviously, I know that you said that they were only saved because of the fact that they were God's people. But it's the fact that why would God allow His people to be slaves? The reason why He allowed His people to be slaves, I believe anyway, is because He wanted to give glory to His name. Yeah, that was back in the day. That in terms of how they were treated the worst of the worst. We could agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were treated the worst of the worst. This again was contrary to what God wanted. Reason being is because He freed Pharaoh he freed his people from Pharaoh. Do you get what I mean? So whether they're His people, whether not, regardless, He still freed His people from Pharaoh. And what did they do once He freed them? They begged. They asked to go back.
What's that got to do with the point, bro?
My whole point is what I'm trying to make it in the sense of like, when it comes to slavery, if you look at slavery in terms of how we view it in terms of modern context, even if you were to relate that to the Bible, a lot of the things that they did in the modern okay, let me phrase it differently, cool. Let's just say the Bible does condone slavery. Yeah, and the Bible sets out framework for how you should treat your slaves. Yeah, if that's the case, how are you telling me you can use so how can you use the Bible to enslave people if that's the case? Bearing in mind, but if you're saying the Bible condones people because slavery, all of this, how can you use the Bible to condone slavery? Bearing in mind all the rules it sets out against slavery. So already. Most of the people, can we agree that most of the people that were in the Atlantic slave trade were kidnapped? Most of them.
A lot were sold as well.
Yeah, but most of them were kidnapped.
So but a lot were sold as well. And that was allowed.
But it was against their own will, The
ones that were sold?
Not everything. It was against the people that wanted to be, they didn't want to be slaves.
But no one ever wants to be slaves. That's my point. Even back in biblical times.
Biblical times there was though.
Nobody wanted to be a slave, bro. If you had no other option, even today, if I really, really wanted to, I could find someone and say, "Oh, I'll be your slave," and someone would say, "Okay."
But times are different back then.
Not different.
People used to use it as servitude.
There was
no economic system.
Slave serves you.
No, because there's even verses saying that, right, if your slave becomes rich enough to pay blah blah blah, and he becomes wealthy, then you can buy back his bonds and all the stuff like that. So it's like
that happened in transatlantic slave trade as well. People bought themselves out of slavery. Like you keep saying that modern is so different. I keep trying to tell you, it's almost identical. It's almost exactly the same, and you can't show me any way which is different.
First, there was no race-based slavery in the Bible. That's number one.
There was no race-based slavery, but yet you got the Egyptians that slaved the Israelites. Are they not two different races?
Bro, this was all based on their gods, bro.
But so was the transatlantic slave trade.
No.
The same verse that I'm reading here.
This was based on race and it was based on colour.
But
the Atlantic slave trade,
bro.
It was.
You've got Egyptians who were darker skinned, You've got Israelites who were lighter skinned.
That's all speculation.
What speculation?
We don't know that.
So are you saying the Egyptians and Israelites were the same people?
Yeah, but we don't. They lived in Africa, so they would have been a certain colour. We don't know there are, by your logic, that we were talking about, we don't know the colour. So we can't say, and there's nothing in the Bible to suggest that it was based on race.
When you really break down race, race is just a way to separate different types of people, because we're all people and humans at the end of the day.
Of course.
So Egyptians are Egyptians, Israelites are Israelites. So there's not really too much difference between Europeans coming to take Africans and making them slaves, and Egyptians taking Israelites and making them slaves. There's really not too much different there. They were treated badly in Egypt. We were treated badly in America and the Caribbean. Same thing. They were allowed and did buy slaves and kept them permanently. A lot of slaves were kidnapped, yes, but a lot of slaves were just sold as well.
No.
What do you mean? Are you disputing that?
Where could you see that in the sense of... Because my whole thing in the sense of like... you could not. So okay, cool. Sorry to interrupt you, but, but what I'm basically trying to say in the sense of like, if we look at what the Atlantic slave trade was, yeah, like you said, there's race-based slavery. I could concede a little bit and say that okay, I can understand that race might not just necessarily be color. Yeah, it might be religion, it might be this or whatever. Yeah. It's okay, cool, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. But in terms of actual slavery, like they were taken from one part of another place to another. They were not paid. They were abused.
So were the Israelites.
Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to. But this was before God set the framework out. Do you get it? So
what was before
the Israelites? So remember, the Israelites were in Egypt. God didn't set any framework until after they were free. Do you see what I'm saying to you? So this is what, but this is why at the beginning I spoke about progressive revelation.
You've got to remember, yeah, because you're trying to say that the framework and all of this didn't come until later. But Abraham, I believe it was Abraham, had his slave Hagar, right? So that means that we know that Israelites were condoning slaves all the way back at Abraham times, right? Everything past then is after anyway.
But you're not. But this is a world economic thing.
What's a world economic
like
thing?
You said, the whole world had slaves.
Okay, so then you have to change your argument and say that the Bible condoned it because the world allowed it back then, but now it doesn't.
No. My whole argument, because for you to condone something, to me, it means that you think that it is right. It's okay, that there's no problem with it. So
yeah.
So in my head, literally. Yeah, you cannot say I don't have a problem with something and then set out framework for it.
God said, "Give your slave woman to Abraham. Let him have a son with her, since you're barren."
Okay, but if you go and
literally
watch, if you go and you see that, yeah. No, that wasn't God who said that.
It was God.
It was what's her name who said that. She was one who suggested it.
I'm pretty sure God said to go and give your slave woman.
It was what's her name who suggested it because she didn't believe that she could have babies. Definitely, God allowed it. I'm not gonna say he didn't allow it, but even then, what did he do when he sent her away? He sent her away with stuff, bro.
What's that got to do with it? Does that justify it?
No,
so if I'm a slave...
But I mean, but it means in the sense of how... And this is what I'm trying to say in the sense of... Bro, okay, cool. Let me rephrase the question. See, back in the day, in the Atlantic slave trade, they would have loved to be treated biblically.
Bro.
No, they wouldn't.
How can you say that?
They wouldn't.
How can
And
you
the reason
say that?
why I would say that is because that means there's no harsh treatment, they're getting payment, they're not beaten, they're not kidnapped. That will literally eradicate all of what happened in the modern day slavery, bro. From time, no, but let's deep it, yeah. Okay, let's just let me concede and say the Bible condones slavery. Yeah, let's just say that, for example, and let's say the Bible condones slavery, and the framework for how you should treat your slaves are set out in the Bible.
Yes.
Let's agree that, yeah. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, other than you owning slaves for life, yeah, which is one verse, which is what you said, yeah, everything else is against slavery.
It's not against. It's giving you rules. Just because something is giving you rules doesn't mean it's against. It's just giving you rules. It's giving you regulation. Every every finance business has regulation.
So why is it? If that's the case, then again, going back to the whole drunk driving thing, why do you get penalised for drunk driving?
You get penalised for being over a limit, not for having alcohol in your system. We just discussed this.
Yeah, of course. Same way you get penalised for treating your slaves badly, not for having slaves in the first place.
So slaves itself is fine. It's the second thing that's not fine. It's over the limit that's not fine. It's being over the limit with your treatment that's not fine. But having slaves and having alcohol in your system is fine. I just don't get how you're disputing it. I just actually don't get how you're disputing it.
I don't get how you're not seeing it. Generally,
bro.
Honestly, no, on the real though. Generally, bro. Because
what is your point though? Like
legally, because if we're looking at a legal standpoint, you're not telling me you're gonna get nicked and go to police and say, oh, but you allowed me to do that. No,
but I won't get nicked because I'll be under the limit. Literally.
No, if you stay within the parameters.
Yeah, but I would have been allowed to drink drive because I'm underneath the parameter.
You would have been allowed to drink drive though.
It's
against the law.
If I drank a fucking... Oh, how am I going blank on this? If I drank a bars ball, one bars ball, and then I get pulled over and I do a breathalyzer, and I'm underneath the limit, then was I allowed to drink drive?
Were you allowed to drink drive?
Was I allowed?
No, you weren't.
But I was, because I didn't break a law.
You're saying you didn't break the law.
I drank drive and it was fine.
It is against the law. It's just a limit to it. Do you see what I'm saying though?
No, the law says the limit is against the law.
No, but the law says you cannot drink drive, and then it sets the specimen for your breath. It's not again.
Yeah.
The law doesn't say, you could drink drive if it's under this limit.
That's
the law,
exactly what it says.
No, it doesn't.
Bro, that's exactly what it
That's
says.
how you can view it. But if you drink driving is against the law.
If it was true, if you truly weren't allowed to drink at all and drive, there'll be no limit allowance.
No, but
It will just be done.
In some places there are though.
In some places there are what?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that in some places it's zero tolerance.
Yeah, and so for those places you can't. You're not allowed.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
Yeah, but for the places where there are limits,
so the fact that if you and
the fact that there's a limit means it's condoned. Literally, or else there'll be
if
no
you were
limit.
to ask a policeman this, yeah, I promise you they'll be like, bro, of course not.
So if I ask him if I'm under the limit, is this fine? He's gonna say yeah. What else can he say? If I say to him, am I under the limit? If I'm under the limit alcohol, is this fine? Is this condoned? He's gonna say yeah.
Yeah, same way in the sense of not condoned.
Yeah. Is this accepted?
No,
is it approved? Is it fine? Basically, yes, it is.
No, but
by law, it's fine.
Nah, fam. Nah, like,
bro, what are you arguing with me here about, bro?
Definitely not, because from what you're saying logically, you're saying so because the law allows strict limitation. So basically, you're saying that because it's limited and not outright blanket no, that it condones it.
Yeah, it's regulated. It'd be called out regulated.
Yeah, but when things are regulated does not mean that they're condoned though.
Yes, it does.
No,
it just means that they're regulated because there's a potential for people to take it too far. Like investments and stuff like that. Only certain places can invest on people's behalf because they need to be regulated because people can lose people a lot of money. But it's condoned. Investing people's money is condoned, but it's regulated. Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay, so then... Yeah, but from what you're saying...
You know that was a good point. That was a great point.
But losing money is what we're talking about. Because investing money, there's not a problem with that. But like you said, if you're unauthorized and you lose people's money, there's a problem with it, right?
Yeah.
So the law does not stand with you, is what I'm basically saying. Same way in the sense of if you drink drive and you're over the limit, the law does not stand with you. But if you're under the limit, the law does stand with you.
Yeah.
Same way, if you own a slave at that time, the law would stand with you. But if you mistreat your slave badly and all of this, because my whole
listen to what you just said. If you own a slave, the law will stand with you.
The law, yeah.
Is that not condoning?
No.
Is that not literally condoning?
But it's not. It's
the law will stand with you.
The law will stand with you because that was at the time everyone done it.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not disputing that.
Yeah.
But what we are saying is that it was condoned. You can't get around that. There's no way to get around it.
Okay, let me.
And because it was like that at that time, I don't think there's any issue that the Bible condoned it. This is not me saying the Bible's bad for condoning it, you know. I understand that the world was just like that. But it's also true that it was condoned.
Nah, bro. It's like, okay,
it was approved. Alright, there's the UK condone gay marriage.
So that's like, wait, hold on. So that's basically like saying, yeah, one of the Bible verses is "Thou shalt not kill." But then there's bits in the Bible that talks about killing. So does God condone killing?
It's contradictory. That's another issue that a lot of people have with the Bible. It's a contradiction.
No, but
because if the commandment says "Thou shalt not kill," that means killing is not condoned. But you are correct. There's been times where Israelites have been commanded to go and kill and go clean up these towns and take it back.
So what does that tell you?
That the Bible is contradictory.
No, but from a logical point, forget the contradictory part in the sense of, for me, that tells me that there was there was framework that was set out for things that you couldn't do, but there were certain exceptions for what you could do.
So now you're saying there's exceptions.
There was.
Thou shalt not kill is a clear non-condone. Is a clear don't do this. There is no thou shalt not have slaves. There's none of that anywhere in the Bible.
But there's also a verse in the Bible that said thou shalt not kill, but then also a verse in the Bible that's saying if you kill somebody by accident, you should not be punished. But it says thou shalt not kill.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay. So it gave. I get what you're saying. It gave like a condition, basically. It gave you a condition where this law is void. In this condition, okay, cool. But there is still the law thou shalt not kill. You can't show me a law that says thou shalt not have slaves.
There's not a verse that says thou shalt not have slaves, but it shows about the treatment Okay, you know what? I feel like we're getting confused on semantics.
You're getting confused on semantics.
No, definitely not, because I feel like when you maybe people can articulate themselves better than me, but my whole thing.
No, I think you're articulating yourself fine. I get what you're trying to say, yeah? Like, it may not have been morally... Like, I'm not here saying that the Bible thought slavery was great. Obviously, slavery was great. Obviously not, innit? But did it allow it? Yeah. And I think that's pretty hard to dispute.
I'm not just saying that if I've said it, let me rephrase myself, because the Bible did allow slavery, 100%.
But allow is just a synonym for condone.
Is not this for me to condone something. It means that you think that thing is right.
No, see, now you're changing definitions.
No, I said that from the beginning, bro. Like, literally, I even wrote it down. He said, "Look, accept, approve, sanction."
Yeah, accept, approve, use. But what you just said is that condoning is how you feel about it. And that's completely different.
Condoning is if you believe that something is right or wrong. Basically, like how if I condone something, like see,
look, that's again, like you just said, right and wrong is different from allow and approve. You can approve something but still think it's wrong.
What am I? 1 second. If I condone something, what am I doing? If I condone something.
That's in the wrong context still.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. But, I thought the same thing still.
But you're mixing right and wrong with approve. Right and wrong, remember, is subjective. That's person by person, right and wrong. But accept or approve, that's binary. It's yes or no. Literally. So if we want to change the debate to if it's right or wrong, I'm going to be on your side all day. Who's not going to be on your side?
No, but it's obviously I agree with that. But my whole point is because when you I think, do you know what it is? I feel like the correct topic should be then, if that's the case, does the Bible the word escaped me. Does the Bible advocate for slavery?
And that's a whole different debate. We wouldn't even have a debate because we'll probably say the same thing.
Yeah, but I feel like the topic, because I'm not gonna, because do you know what it is? I feel like I understand the complete where you're coming from, because the fact that the government allowed the fact that it's allowed and said that you can do something shows that you're condoning it. Yeah. So I'm not arguing you. I get where you're coming from. My whole thing is the fact that I feel like we should have chosen a different word. If I'm honest with you,
I don't think the Bible champions slavery.
And that's a lot. And the only reason, okay, cool, fair enough. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people
think it champions.
Yeah, I reckon that would have been a better. I think the condone.
No, but we would have agreed though. That's the issue with that one, because I just would have agreed with you straight away.
It's true, because a lot of people that I've spoken to and had issues about, the reason they have with the Bible is because they believe that what is written in the Bible is that you can beat a slave, you can do this, you can do that, you can do whatever. Like I honestly, some of these rules that I knew that I learned, I didn't know about, bro. I didn't know that you couldn't kidnap someone to sell them. I didn't know that you couldn't if you beat their tooth out, whatever. And I think that's why when it comes to the New Testament, like, you know what, I will concede and say the Old Testament did condone slavery in a certain way. Fair enough. I've conceded. I will say the old slavery it did condone it in a certain way. Does it believe that it was right? No. But I will say it does condone it in a certain way, because from the definition...
I don't think it believed it was right.
Yeah, from the definition of what condone is, you could argue and say that the fact that it didn't say anything, it accepted it. So fair enough. But the main thing that I want to... So, you know what? Fair enough. Fair enough.
We can pivot to... Because obviously there was another thing that we had a point of contention about, which is... essentially, do we believe that the Bible led to the transatlantic?
Yeah. And I don't believe that's the case.
And I think it did.
How?
So I'm saying, so we can still... Because, again, I feel like at the time... Now, I know you don't want to hear the Pope and fuck with the Pope and that. But I feel like the Pope was important. So at the time, because Europe was overwhelmingly Christian, especially back then, right? They used to have Christian wars, all of this stuff. So they had to get permission to actually go to what we now know as North and South America and the Caribbean to start doing all of this slave business. They had to get permission. So they went to the Pope, and the Pope literally pulled up the Leviticus phrase, and he said, okay, slaving is fine as long as foreign nations who don't already believe in Christ. And so because they got that green light, that's when all of the whole chaos just done a madness. Because in their mind, the evilness of what they were doing was fine because these were non-Christians. Native Americans aren't Christians.
I hear what you're saying, but then if by your logic, but it goes against everything that was taught within the Bible. You can't say that, okay, cool. For example, let's just say we go with your point, fair enough. Okay, cool. So, okay, the Pope, what the Pope said, you can go and blah, 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 as long as it doesn't come from your nation, You can't, in my opinion, you can't pick and choose. So if that's what the Pope said, because based on that, I can understand how people interpret that the Bible allowed the transatlantic slave trade. Then what's important is that how they actually treated their slaves.
The slaves, yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? So it's like, okay, fair enough. And this is another reason why I don't mess with the Pope, because I'm not gonna lie, the Pope that we have recently, he's been doing wonders. That guy's more of a Christian than
I've been hearing a lot about that.
It's
so
mad.
I need to look
he's
into this.
acting a lot more like a Christian than
they're all Christian, bro. This guy keeps on saying it like they're a different religion, bro.
They're not, bro. And the reason why I say that is because it literally said the angel of light will come disguise, angel of darkness will come disguise the angel of light. And I honestly think, you cannot call. If I was to call myself, you know me, I'm religious, I'm a Christian, or a follower of God, If I went out now and started like either a mass booting, like started killing bare people, or if I went out and started doing things that were contrary to my religion, would you still call me a Christian?
I would call you a hypocrite.
Exactly. You'd call me a hypocrite, but you would not call me a Christian.
I can't say that you're not a Christian.
But I'm doing.
But you're not acting Christianly.
Yeah, but I'm the whole point of being is Christ-like.
What's your definition of a Christian then?
Christ-like. So you act Christ-like,
To act Christ-like.
Yeah.
Okay, well then by that definition, then
I'm not. I'm literally doing the exact opposite of what I'm saying, and this is another reason why. Because there's so many denominations, I say I just follow God, bro. I follow because there is so many Catholics and this and XYZ. So that's why I would say
So to you, someone who just has belief and faith in Christ is not enough to be a Christian.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. You can believe in anything, bro. Generally, you can actually believe in anything. It's not you like. It's more than like faith. You have to do something about it.
Okay.
You have to and that's not saying you've got to be perfect. I'm not perfect, but you have to try. Like what I'm struggling with, like just because you're like, let's say for example you're struggling with lust or you're struggling with addiction or whatever. Just because you backslide and you fall for that thing, that does not mean that God doesn't love you and you're not perfect anymore. If you're actively trying, but then there's a difference between if you're falling in lust or falling with addiction and you're just, I don't care, I'm going to do it. It's completely different. One, you're actually trying, one, you're not. And that's why I can't attribute Catholics to...
So you don't feel like they're trying? You don't feel like Catholics are trying to be in their faith and be Christian?
It's not that I don't think they're trying, but I feel like it's the path they're following is the wrong path, is what I think. Did you get it?
So if someone follows the wrong path, not knowingly, would you still consider them a Christian? Because
I'm not God, so I try not to judge. But yeah, I wouldn't consider them a Christian. If you follow the wrong path, that's like me saying, I'm a Muslim, but I do everything that Christians do, or vice versa.
But isn't your heart what's important? Like, if you truly believe you're doing what Christ wants, but you just was fed bad information growing up, like, doesn't your heart matter?
That's different, no. Because it's like, but then again, it says that everyone would have the opportunity to know about God and whatnot, And I generally believe, generally believe that you will know, like, in your heart what you're doing. Like, for example, if it's like, when man was on road, I thought God was blessing me because I'm doing big things, all of this, that, I'm happy, whatever, like living life, But it wasn't until after I came out of it that I really understood. It's like, was this really God that was blessing me, or maybe did He just allow these things for me to do? And the reason I say that is because I'm doing things that are contrary to what He says. But then I'm saying that it's God that's blessing me. And at the time, bro, I used to laugh at people. I said, bro, you like, damn, of course God's blessing me. Like, look at all the things I've got and this and that, blah, blah, blah. But But now I'm looking at it, it's like maybe it wasn't God that was blessing me. So it's like you can't be contrary to your core belief, do something contrary to your core belief and then say you believe in it. It just doesn't make sense. Like the Pope can't be like, oh yeah, you can enslave people, but look at what it says in the Bible. It completely opposed to it.
Well, actually, do you know what? That's a good point then, because I was just gonna say, but he did get it from the Bible. So then, can you show me in the New Testament, or even the Old Testament, something that will prevent the Pope from saying what he said?
Okay, I can show you.
What's the scripture that says that no, he shouldn't have given that order that day? Maybe he should have said, well, you got to treat them correctly, but is there anything that could have made him not actually give the order because he was wrong?
Okay, I'm going to get probably the first that I can think of.
Does it even talk about slavery in the New Testament? You can't talk about it that much.
Yeah, there's just quite a few verses of slavery. I thought you were even going to bring up the New Testament because there's another verse, Ephesians 6:5, basically says, slaves obey your master. That's what it says, yeah. Slaves obey your master. And this is another thing that people will read out of context.
That was quoted a lot in slavery times though.
But then verse 9, which is the same verse, says, masters, treat your slaves in the same way. Don't threaten them. Remember you both have the same master in heaven. So this is what I'm saying in the sense of even the slave Bible, you could have taken out the
verse 9, which they probably did.
Yeah, and just had that little bit there. So that's why I'm saying you have to read the whole thing in full context.
So, but it still doesn't say that you can't have a slave. So then I would ask you, would you be okay with the transatlantic slave trade as long as the slaves were treated like
okay, well? Because in 1 Timothy 1:9-10, it lists slave masters in the same way it lists sexual immoral people, liars, ungodly people. Like if you want to go to that verse, it says the law is for the unjust. Basically saying the law is for the unjust men who are disobedient, ungodly men, the sexual immoral, the man stealers. Sorry, it says list
man stealers.
Yeah,
not
man stealers. Yeah, but remember this is Greek, so the words are different. That's what I mean. Is do you know what I mean? The sexually immoral. So God works. So basically saying that all of these, it listed them all together. Like even like it put them all together in terms of things that God doesn't like.
So there's still not a scripture that you could have went to the Pope and said, this says that you shouldn't have said that.
Well, yeah, 1 Timothy 1:9-10. Look it. But remember, I'm paraphrasing. So word for
because if that says man stealers, then the Pope still hasn't done anything wrong biblically.
Why?
Because there's nothing that he's done that the Bible says that you can't do.
Okay, some verses, of course, will say slave masters. But remember, I'm trying to get the most accurate.
So was it Timothy what?
It was 1 Timothy 1:9-10.
Timothy 1:9-10. 1 Timothy chapter 1:9-10.
Yeah.
Because if the Pope was to say to you, listen, great, the Bible says that we can enslave foreign people, so I wasn't wrong telling them that they could do that. I'm just trying to say, like, as a follower of Christ, what could you reply to him? Like, what would you say to him in response? Like, there's nothing.
I'll say Matthew 7:15, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing. You will know them by their fruits. Same way literally you'll know them by their fruits. That's exactly what I say to him. I say what you're saying is completely contrary to the Bible, hence why it says beware of prophets who come in sheep's clothing, and it literally says prophets. Do you know what I mean? So I say that what you're doing is wrong. If you wanted to look at the Bible, the reason why God freed his people, I understand, yeah, they're his people, but it's more than them being his people, it's the fact that his people were oppressed. Because what if Pharaoh never did what they did? God would have still made his promise with Abraham's descendants. Do you see what I'm saying to you? Because that was the promise he had.
Well, I hear you. It's a grey area. So basically, it said man stealing, not simply having slaves. In 1 Timothy 1:9-10, the word translated slave traders or man stealers is the Greek anthropodistes, which means kidnapping people, selling human beings, trafficking persons for slavery. What Paul is condemning, capturing or abducting people, forcing them into slavery, and trading humans as commodities.
And this was literally that one verse,
which aligns with Exodus as well. That says that
and that one verse literally goes against everything that was in the Atlantic slave trade. Like literally.
Against what was on it was against the kidnapping and trafficking and selling of them. Yeah, but it's not against. So if Israelites lived in America at the time, they wouldn't have been penalised for buying black African slaves because they would have been allowed to do that, basically.
If Israelites lived in...
Let's say that Israelites lived in America, yeah? And then the Europeans went to Africa, captured slaves, came to America, and then said to the Israelites, okay, we've got some African slaves for you guys. Like, they would be allowed to buy them and keep them permanently. The only issue was actually capturing.
The reason I disagree with that one is, again, is like I said to you. I feel like the reason that verse was said was because of the context at the time. We're at war. It's gonna happen. It's bound to happen.
No, but war and buying is different. Buying is like when you go to the supermarket, bro.
Did it say
Leviticus 25:44?
You may buy a female. Or it just said you may buy among nations around.
You see what I'm saying?
Blah blah blah.
So that's different from war. That's literally just purchasing like a item, fam.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But do you not think though, out of all the other hundreds of verses that condemn it and have rules and regulations about it, this is the only verse in the whole Bible, the only verse. Do you not think that's saying something in itself?
Do you know what I think?
Go on.
I think this maps to what you said about the commandment. I think in the Bible you have base laws or base rules, and then you have conditions and stuff built on top of it. So I think thou shalt not kill was a base law, and then you have conditions built on top. And then I think this was the base law that let Israelites know, okay, you can buy them, but then here's all of the conditions on top. So I feel like this is like the foundational law for slavery.
I'd agree with that, and the only reason I'd agree with that is only because, like I said, at that time, that was like slavery
standard.
was built on the colony.
It's standard at the time. I'm not disputing that. I know it's standard at the time. You know, I'm not one of these people that's trying to say, oh yeah, the Bible's mad because... No, I know historically that's what it was.
Do you know what it is? When I was even learning about slavery, it made me realise people were so hung up on slavery. Yeah. Bro, if you are disobedient to God, what would happen to you is 10 times worse than what would happen to slaves. We were talking about earlier, I said you will betroth a wife and some of the next one will ravish her.
That's crazy.
That's worse than slavery for me, bro.
Yeah, that's
the hell? I'm slavery in my own body, physically, mentally, spiritually.
That's a man that knows the pain of dealing with women to say something like that. That's a man that gets you. God is bad for that stuff.
Like, do you get what I'm saying?
That he will ravish her, you know.
Bro,
not even he will take her.
Yeah. Not even take her. I said I will ravish her. Like, yo, I'm gonna give your woman a good time just when you've been betrothed.
See,
as well.
This is what I mean. Stuff like that makes me feel like that's a man writing that. Only a man can understand that.
Bro,
that's insane.
bro,
that's so insane.
No, it's mad. It's mad.
Because as God, yeah, why do you get that? Why do you get how painful that is? That's
he knows,
insane.
bro. God knows, bro. He knows. I feel like God's understood what men's been going through with women from Eve's time, bro.
Yeah, I guess so.
He knows. Man said you will. It's even one of the curses, bro. Said you will want to, like, could deep it. He said the woman will want to rule over their husband, but they won't be able to. The man will be able to rule over you. That in itself.
Amen.
Yeah. But you know what I mean,
there's definitely stuff I agree with the Bible.
That in itself is like it's mad. It's mad, bro. But I feel like we've reached. Would you say we've reached common ground then?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, well back.
Like I could, I could understand in terms of why people believe that the Bible does condone slavery, 100%. And I think the last point I just want to make is that if you can say the Bible condones slavery, okay, then actually look into what the Bible says about slavery. You'll understand that it might not condemn people owning slaves, but it condemns the treatment of them and everything like that. And if the people were to actually look at the Bible, especially at the time when they had these slave Bibles, you know and understand that everything that is written in the Bible is completely contrary to how they were being treated. And that's my whole point. Do you get it?
Yeah, and I've got no quarrel with that. I agree. I fully agree with all of that because it's true. And the slave Bible was edited as well.
Yeah.
Like key verses and stuff were removed.
You know what I mean?
And
Things
chapters
taken
and stuff
out.
were removed.
Yeah, bro. So I would love to see what you lot think in the comments. If you missed out anything or or what you think as well, whether you think the Bible does condone slavery, or whether you don't think the Bible condones slavery, any verses you think could strengthen or dismantle our arguments as well, innit? You know what I mean? But yeah, man, it's been Faith 5 Facts, and we out.
Come on. Till next time, innit?
Till next time.